That car got crunched. The whole trunk is like caved in. Either they backed into a bus or a bus backed into them. It's a Chevy Crush. That was stupid, I know. Like I said in the previous video, I'm kind of a nerd. So the game I've been playing is Prey. I actually just beat it. And I kind of just wanted to talk about it a little bit, because I really enjoyed it. Give my my thoughts on it. I played the original Prey way back on the Xbox 360, I believe it was, and I loved it. It was a creepy game. It was very unique in the fact that they had some very brilliant ideas. Like there was this whole like ancestral kind of thing where you turn in essentially into one of your ancestors of a Native American tribe, and you can go around kind of like a ghost and, you know, shooting your bow and stuff like that. And it was a cool contrast to how the game was set up as a kind of spacey shooter type of game slash thriller. Now, they brought a lot of the uniqueness to this one too. And the game, first of all, looks really good. It's kind of like a mix between Dishonored, BioShock, and maybe a hint of Dead Space in there somewhere. You play as a character, his name is Morgan Yu, and he's kind of like this scientist, engineer, technology junkie dude. And him and his brother kind of head research and stuff on a facility. I don't want to do any spoilers, so I'm gonna try and keep that out of this, but things never go right in certain places, and essentially you're him trying to figure out what's going on. The game has a lot of creative things. The atmosphere is really amazing, like the areas you can visit. As you're going around to different places just trying to follow your main objective, you will run into a bunch of doors and stuff along the way, kind of just off to the side, and you'll be like, ooh, what's that go to? Or, you know, you'll see something that doesn't look the same and you'll be like, what does this do? And then it leads you on this whole side mission to try and figure out what it is, and a lot of those missions are very, very cool, and it made me want to go exploring. And I didn't find everything that I needed. I didn't 100% the game. There were some things I just could not find, and I gave up on trying. It didn't ruin the experience. I think they were really small things. The enemies are, at least at the very beginning, quite freaky. There's this one critter called a mimic, and it can literally mimic anything. Like, it will turn into, you know, a coffee cup. And you never know what might be a mimic. I mean, there are some signs that you can pay attention for, but you don't 100% truly know. And so it can lead to some startling moments. At least it did for me. Of course, you know, I'm a pansy, so. There are other enemies, like phantoms, which are a little bit bigger. They're kind of more your, like, one-on-one or two-on-one variant of soldier, I guess you could say. I mean, they kind of remind me of the elites in Halo. And you have the generic, like, blue elite, and then you go all the way up towards, like, you know, sword elites who have different skills and traits. The phantoms kind of remind me of that, which isn't a bad thing. And then there are some other enemies. There's one called a nightmare, and I'm not going to tell you anything about it. I'm just going to let you see what it is, because you should play this game. One of the main guns that you'll probably use throughout the game is called the glue gun. It's a G-L-O-O, not G-L-U-E. So don't eat it. That gun is really cool because when you shoot it, it can immobilize enemies, make it so that they can't move, and then you can run up to them and melee them, you know, bash them a few times and damage them. But that's not its only use. You can also use it to put out fires, to clog vents that might have like toxic gases, and you can also use it to attach on any surface, like any wall that is not made of glass. So you can use it to access areas that you normally couldn't reach, and that's really cool. So like there's this one part I used the glue gun, and it took a while to do it, but I ended up hopping up like an elevator shaft just to get to the top, and there was a couple secrets up there. So that was really cool to be rewarded for my willingness to explore, creatively explore. Those kind of things are stuff I love in games. I love it when developers think, well, let's put something here, you know, to reward them. I love that kind of stuff. And Prey, I feel, is a very creative game. I feel the developers were very creative in their design of it. Now, since there's a lot of little things you can do, it makes it so the game is longer than it would be if you just did the main story. I'm not entirely sure how long the main story would be if you strictly followed it. I don't think it would be very long. I did almost everything, at least that I know of, and I ended up having a game that was about 30 hours, maybe a little bit more than 30 hours. So that's pretty respectable. Now, I'm gonna go into the gripe section of this where I talk about a few things that I wasn't too keen on. First one is materials for, like, you know, making ammo and stuff like that. Two of the materials are very easy to get, especially later in the game, once you have different upgrades that you purchase from your skill tree. And two of the other materials are a pain. I felt like I never had enough of them. I managed to squeeze by, but I felt like I could have used more. Now, I understand that's the kind of like suspenseful part of it, is you have to think a little bit more wisely on what you're going to do, how you're going to face an enemy. But I feel that if they had made more use of the other materials, maybe by using the other materials you have to use a different weapon because the other materials create ammo for a different weapon, you may or may not like that other gun, and it may or may not be as effective against the enemy you're trying to face. Other gripe, I had a few game crashes where my Xbox One crashed a few times. It was a little bit of annoyance for that, but I understand it happens and with any game. Probably the only other annoyance that I have is that I feel that the game makes you only want to use the shotgun and the pistol, and that's because the other weapons tend to be a little bit more powerful other than the glue cannon, and you want to save those for the harder enemies. So throughout most of the game you're kind of following this one set of weapons, which can lead to some repetitive gameplay. Not that it wasn't fun, but I felt like there could have been a little bit more variance. I think where some of the variance comes into play is where you have your separate skill tree that you can upgrade different things. You can get powers of the enemies. But for me, I felt like I wanted to play as the good guy, so I did not get any of the skills that the Typhon had. I only purchased human abilities, and I'm kind of glad I did. I'm not going to ruin anything, but if you get the game, watch till after the credits. It's pretty hard to miss it, but it's pretty good. Tell me what you thought about the game. Leave a comment below. Tell me if you liked it, if you didn't like it. If you haven't played the game, go buy it, and then tell me if you liked it or didn't like it. Disclaimer, I am not paid to say that. I wish I was. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more random content, feel free to subscribe. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.